Hello. Before I was able to publish this podcast, all the games got cancelled. So please keep that in mind while we preview the Schalke game, which now will not happen. Hello and welcome to episode 321 of the Yellowwallpod. I'm your host Stefan Butzko, and today we will talk about Borussia Dortmund's elimination from the Champions League against Paris Saint-Germain and the 180th Revierderby, which will be played behind closed doors and is potentially the final game of the season. And for all that and more, joins me Adam Darowski. Hello Adam, good to have you back. How are you doing?
Doing well, thank you very much.
This episode is sponsored by Nick DOREY. Thank you, Nick. You can follow him on Twitter at ndorey21. Please do so. If you also want to sponsor an episode, go to patreon.com/theyellowwall for more information. Anyway, let's start with the show. Borussia Dortmund lost 2-0 away to PSG in front of exactly nobody, even though outside of the stadium there was quite the pandemonium. Adam, I'm afraid you were one of the few lucky people that didn't get to see the full game. You only saw highlights.
Right. My ritual is that I'm not able to watch the European matches live. I usually wait and hide from the score, and then I watch it later because I can't know what the score is. But unfortunately, a friend of mine shot me a text about the result while I was off coaching, so I haven't gotten to actually watch it yet, besides the highlights.
Yeah, that makes your opinion all the more valuable. But, the good news is, I personally don't want to talk too much about the game, and I feel like there are going to be a couple more episodes ahead where we will probably dissect it a little closer. This is sort of an emergency podcast in the sense that you are on and not the regular panel because Matthias Zug right now traveling Germany and not being sure whether he can travel back to the United States. Lars sadly is sick, just hoping he does not have the coronavirus. And Konstantin is clearly still drunk. No idea what he's doing, but he's also unavailable. So Adam, thank you for doing this. I would say this about the game against PSG is sort of what happened is what everyone had feared would happen, is that Dortmund were far too passive, and we have to say that PSG's pressing sadly worked really well, especially in the first 20 to 25 minutes. Dortmund hardly had any stints of possession and control, and conceding a goal via a set piece is obviously infuriating, especially if it's Neymar, who could head in a header of nothing you want to see happening. And Dortmund just got into the game way too late. The positivity they showed in the last 20 minutes was sadly not enough. And you've seen the highlights. Are there any good chances you remember from Dortmund?
There wasn't really too much that stood out, actually. The thing that stood out to me was the great chance for Emre Can to get in the face of Neymar towards the end. That was the most exciting and fulfilling thing to me.
Yeah, well, sadly he got sent off with a straight red there.
Right.
I think that was justified. You saw the shove. That was I mean, it was a shove, but not the straight red card kind of shove. Everyone knows, and especially Anthony Taylor, the English referee, should know what Neymar does on a game-to-game basis. So that was way over the top. I actually thought it was 2 consecutive yellow cards. The first one for the tactical foul, which clearly was the offense that you should book him for, and then instigating a brawl. But it was a straight red, what I thought was positive from Dortmund was that they had control in the second half and they tried to mount a challenge, but PSG defended really well, I have to say, and didn't really allow too many shots. Dortmund had a lot of attempts from distance, but the penetration overall lacked. And when Lucien Favre brought on Julian Brandt for Axel Witsel, I thought it was already a bit too late. And I think you've seen the last couple of games, and you can see that this team is clearly tired. Like, they are at the heights of their ability right now, which also doesn't bode too well for the Revierderby. And of course, PSG had the weekend off because the league game against Strasbourg got cancelled due to the coronavirus. So all in all, very disappointing that Dortmund are out of the Champions League. There are obviously a lot of people who want Favre out now. I don't know if it will happen immediately. Well, actually, I do know it won't happen immediately. I don't know if it will happen at the end of the summer or not, and how anything continues at this given moment. So we'll see. I assume we will also talk about this game with Ed from PSG Talk again, either on his show or here. So are there any overall comments you want to make on Dortmund's European campaign of the 2019-2020 season?
It's like you said, it's very disappointing for it to end like this, because the first leg of the PSG match it was like elation. We had the goals by Erling Haaland. We had just this wonderful performance, and unfortunately we had that one away goal that went in, and I just feel like it was a tough draw. I'm still very pleased with overall how they did in Europe, but it is a bitter pill to swallow at the very end, going out like this to a PSG team that is I'm pretty frustrated by a lot of the aftermath of the match, with PSG kind of mimicking Haaland's celebration and things like that. That's been very frustrating to see, as well as Neymar dropping to the ground for Emre Can, because as we just saw in the game against Gladbach, there were a lot of clashes between players, and we didn't have players just dropping to the ground as easily as that. So it felt just icky to go out like that against PSG.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Michael Zorc put it quite nicely after the game. He said that PSG didn't try their hardest. And I think that was certainly true. I never felt like Dortmund played at the level to really challenge PSG. And this PSG team, throughout the 90 minutes, they weren't like on a super high level. It's just that Dortmund, for some reason, couldn't play against them. And it's super frustrating, because you know that this Dortmund side usually is always good for a goal, at least create some chances, but that certainly wasn't the case. And I mean, they really had a lot of things going for them. I think not having a home crowd in the stadium is an advantage, even maybe not the biggest. I also think that Kylian Mbappe being sick and not able to start is an advantage. Having Thomas Meunier, who is very heavily linked with Dortmund, and Verratti suspended, is a big advantage. So in many ways, a lot of things were going in Dortmund's way, plus the fact that PSG are known to choke in the second leg after the round of 16. So you could have done something about that as well, but Dortmund never really forced the issue, and the problem, in my view, was that it was just too timid, too passive, and Dortmund attempting to defend, which is fine if you're able to do that, but they clearly were not, and hence it's frustrating. And then of course the entire way Paris players celebrated was like a slap in the face, I think, to many Dortmund fans. They justified it that Dortmund players had social media posts provoking them or so. I think that's juvenile nonsense, to be honest. But yeah, it's annoying, and also I thought you could have just suspended this match overall, because having a group of PSG ultras in front of the stadium, I don't know, lighting up fireworks or so, is not really what you want to contain a pandemic if they're, bulked up in front of the stadium. So that was stupid. And so, yeah, it just leaves a sour taste in your mouth, to be honest.
There were definitely positives to take from the Champions League campaign this season, though. I mean, they opened with that 0-0 to Barcelona. Yeah, they didn't get the 3 points out of it, but it was such an incredible offensive display by Dortmund and Ter Stegen. But then we also had that Inter match. We'll never forget that one, coming back and winning 3-2. And as a Roman Bürki fan, I loved those matches against Slavia Prague where he just stood on his head and got the wins in both games for us.
Yeah, definitely. Mark London actually sent us something about that. He said Favre's Dortmund playing away versus big team record in the last season was a 2-0 loss to Atleti, a 3-0 against Tottenham, a 5-0 against Bayern this season. It's a 2-0 away to Inter, a 4-0 away to Bayern, a 3-1 away to Barcelona, and now the 2-0 against PSG. He says 7 games, 7 losses, 21 goals conceded, 1 goal scored. We certainly need to talk about that, and I'll just direct that to you, Adam. What do you make of this, which is quite of an abysmal record, if we're honest?
Right. These are the big teams that they have to face, and when they face them at home, they're stepping it up. But on the road, it just seems like the Bundesliga struggles that they're having on the road just simply carry over to the Champions League, and when they're facing even tougher competition there, it just gets even uglier. So I don't know if it's down to just a general youth on the team. I don't know if that can be an excuse anymore with this team, because we've got some older players in now. We've got, Witsel and Hummels and Emre Can in the middle. Like, these are not young players that are supposed to get shaken.
And Lucas Piszczek, for that matter.
Right. Not that I think these players particularly are getting shaken. I don't know. Maybe it's down to coaching. I'm usually not the first person on the Favre out train, but there is an issue, a continuing issue with this team playing on the road in every competition. But in the Champions League against these big teams, it's even worse.
Yeah, the thing is, we've observed this for so long, but I don't have a good explanation for this. And I don't know if making Favre's head roll for it makes anything better, for that matter. So
right.
I think it's good to be pointed out, and it's quite disappointing for a lot of Dortmund fans to see such a vast contrast. I would say this: it highlights the strength or the amazingness of the Westfalenstadion, for sure. I'll read a stat later that will highlight that once again. I mean, if you see the Westfalenstadion in all its might, you always think, well, this will really help the team. So actually, it shouldn't be surprising that they're not doing as well on the road, considering the amazing and fantastic stadium they have, that at home they are just such a powerhouse. But it's really, the contrast is such a discrepancy that it's, it's getting a bit embarrassing at this point. But, in terms of coaching, maybe the one thing I would say is that the club wants to brand itself with the word intensity. Everything about the Borussia Dortmund experience is supposed to be about the intense lived experience or whatever, but that does not reflect on the football pitch on the road, definitely, because Dortmund were sitting back. They weren't really pressing PSG. When they were attacking them, it was usually not beyond the halfway line. And that I think in these big games, regardless of whether home or away soil, you need to play with a bit more courage and put more pressure on opponents, especially in the first 20 minutes, just to put a marker down, showing other teams that you're in the game. And PSG certainly were up for it. They threw themselves into more tackles than probably ever, according to the PSG fans that I follow. So they were all very happy with the defensive performance their team showed. So yeah, it wasn't like PSG was, as I said before, playing on their very best. I thought Neymar also didn't have his best or greatest game. And Juan Bernat, let's be honest, got a little bit lucky with the 2-0 that he poked the ball into the far corner like he did. But that all being said, it wouldn't have mattered anyway because the 1-0 would have been enough for PSG, and Dortmund never looked like they were going to score in this game. Shout out to Mario Götze for his 5-minute cameo. He tried to help, but obviously didn't work. So yeah, now the question is obviously, does this loss or win mean anything for either team because of the coronavirus? It might be that the entire competition gets cancelled or postponed. Who knows? So yeah, maybe it's a worthless win in the end for PSG, or if not, I actually hope then they draw Bayern and Bayern can avenge Dortmund, because I want to see this PSG team lose very badly because of their post-game antics. That's just me though. I don't know about that.
It is not just you.
Okay. All right. So that's enough for talking about this PSG game. It sucked. Emre Can getting sent off sucked even more. Nothing good there. No one saw it. So let's just move on. And that will be the 180th Revierderby. Adam, are you excited about this derby, or are you not, considering there will be no fans in the stadium? And I don't know if you've seen the Gladbach against Cologne game, but that was just peculiar and shitty and weird. And I've said it on Twitter before, and I'll say it again now. I think you should just cancel all games already before they even play.
Right. I tend to agree with you. I did catch a bunch of that Gladbach game, and then I also watched Lask and Man United today on a very empty stadium as well. And it's like a training session. And what we were just talking about their struggles not playing in front of the crowd in the Westfalen Stadium. But I worry about this game against Schalke, that how are they going to come up with nobody behind them? You can't really plan for it as if it's a home game or an away game, because it's really neither. It's just empty. So I'm not sure what to expect. I have this nervousness with it. I still have some confidence that they will use their quality to win, but that's what they're going to have to use, is their quality. They're not going to be able to rely on their fans getting behind them to push them through it.
I will say this. The last game Dortmund played at home to Schalke was the only home match that Lucien Favre lost in the Bundesliga, and also the last home loss at all, if I'm not mistaken. And what's wrong with this derby? I think the last two derbies was the 4-4 and then the 4-2 loss. So Dortmund have conceded 8 goals in the last two home derbies. And I always think there's a certain amount of nervousness from this Dortmund side because of maybe how the atmosphere is or what this derby means to the fans. Maybe in that sense, it can have a calming effect and maybe a positive effect on Dortmund, even though I really don't like these words leaving my lips. But maybe this is like the one silver lining. Obviously, it's hard to measure and you can only speculate before the fact and after the fact about it, but that's the only thing I'll throw out there. Schalke right now obviously are in 6th place, and they are not really doing well. Dortmund have only won 1 out of the last 8 meetings. This was the 2-1 at Schalke in December 2018. The last derby in Dortmund saw Schalke win 4-2. Dortmund's only home loss under Lucien Favre, as I said before. Borussia Dortmund were only 1 point ahead of Schalke before the first meeting this season, which was a scoreless draw, whereas 14 points now separate the two sides. Erling Haaland has scored more than double the amount of goals that Schalke have managed since the winter break so far, with Haaland's 9 to Schalke 4th. Schalke have only scored once in their last 387 minutes of football, which was Weston McKennie scoring against Hoffenheim, while BVB have netted 10 times in this time frame. And Dortmund could pick up their 800th Bundesliga win in the upcoming Revierderby, while Schalke could let in their 2,500th goal in the Bundesliga. So that's exciting, right? After a 1-1 draw against Hoffenheim, Schalke are without a win in their last 7 Bundesliga games with 4 draws and 3 losses, a longer wait than any other Bundesliga side. And Schalke are without a win in their last 6 Bundesliga away games, which is 3 draws and 3 losses, longer than any other Bundesliga side. And they last endured a longer winless streak on the road between February and May of 2015, which were 9 games. And Schalke have failed to score in all 4 of their last Bundesliga away games in 2020. This last happened between September and November in 2001. The Royal Blues last went on a longer goalless streak away from home between April and September in 1998, which was 5 games.
Wow.
Yeah. So here are a couple positive stats for Dortmund. Dortmund's Jadon Sancho has had a hand in at least 1 goal in his last 8 Bundesliga games. He has been directly involved in more Bundesliga goals than any other player this season, with 14 goals and 15 assists. And Schalke's Amin Harit has been directly involved in more Bundesliga goals than any other of his teammates this term, 6 goals and 4 assists, but hasn't had a hand in a goal in his last 9 games. It adds Schalke haven't won any of these matches.
Yeah, Schalke has come away with a win in 1 out of their last 10 Bundesliga matches, and somehow they are in 6th place. And I'm having a hard time figuring out how that can happen, because I think they only started in like 4th. So that's not very far to drop with just getting that many points in 10 games.
You know, Schalke had a very good start. I think they beat Gladbach 2-0 at home.
Yes.
At the start of the Rückrunde. And I personally thought, well, this is an entirely new Schalke and they're here to stay. And Thomas Wagner? No, Dave Wagner.
David Wagner.
Thomas Wagner, someone else. Dave Wagner is doing an incredible job there, and they're pressing everyone hard and are a super intense team, and this is sort of the way you want Dortmund to play. And then for a reason completely unbeknownst to me, maybe a reason beknownst to me because I know Schalke and that's just how Schalke is, they completely dropped off. So yeah, that was very weird.
Right. Since then, they've scored 2 and allowed 15, including 2 5-0 losses to Bayern and Leipzig. And I don't know, one change that seemed to happen then was right at the beginning. So this was 10 matches now that they haven't had Nübel as the captain. So that was one change. Since Nübel was sent off against Eintracht, they just have that 1 win against Gladbach in 10. I don't know if we can say that Nübel was the cause of all of their success, because since he came back, obviously he's been very different. But that is maybe that was something that disrupted their flow when he had that moment of madness.
Well, Nübel is definitely on the record because he has had a couple of goalkeeper errors. I think the latest incident was against Cologne. And he got basically abused by the Schalke fans. You know, if you sign for Bayern Munich as a Schalke goalkeeper, this is sort of what you set yourself up for. But he said that ever since that moment against Frankfurt, his confidence had been basically shattered, and he's not feeling the same mojo than he has before. So if there is a correlation or a relation, then maybe that's it. That's my best guess.
How are you feeling going into this one? Because, I'm not sure exactly how to feel.
You know, in front of empty stands, it's going to be a very peculiar atmosphere, and nothing will feel even remotely derby-like. But I think Dortmund should have this game, to be honest. I've seen Schalke in recent games, and I have zero confidence in this Schalke team of winning this game, but the problem is it's a Revierderby and literally anything can happen in this one game where form for some reason doesn't matter. So the interesting thing is, and for now it's just a rumor, but I think Express wrote it, so again treated with extra care. But apparently they're thinking about the Deutsche Fußballliga to basically end the entire competition after 26 match days. So basically this could be the last game of the season, and then add 4 more teams to the league next season. So nobody has to get relegated. But since it would be 3 teams that could get relegated, you just add another, so you don't have an uneven number. And I think you did the math. That would mean instead of 34 match days, you'd have 42 match days. So I went to Kicker and got to the table calculator where you can put in the results, and it sort of calculates the Bundesliga table for you. And the good news for Dortmund, obviously, that I didn't have to calculate this, is if that were to be the case, they are very much safe for the Champions League qualification, because right now they are 4 points ahead of Bayer Leverkusen, and there is no way Leverkusen can make that up in one match day. Schalke, however, are in 6th right now, so they would qualify for Europe, but they could be overtaken by Wolfsburg, by Freiburg, by Hoffenheim. So theoretically, they could drop as low as 9th place. So this team would have much more to play for. But the thing is, we don't know about this decision yet, because that would come out as early as next week. So yeah, it's just a theory floating around right now. But what do you make of this?
There are a couple strange things that I see in this. Well, one of them is adding 4 teams. I guess, like you said, you have to do that because there's that third team that would be battling for the relegation. You could either play that relegation match, and that would be the last game of the season, which would be a weird match to end the season on. But or you can add 4. So if you add 4, yes, that's a much larger schedule, because I don't think that you're going to see them break away from the home away schedule. You kind of got to face everybody twice, right? Another strange thing is that they said they would not crown a champion, which seems odd. I mean, there is a team that is in first place by, as of now, a slightly comfortable margin. Well, they're going to be first place, but I guess technically it could drop to 1 in this match day. But Bayern's up by 4 points. Why wouldn't Bayern be the champion? Is what I want to know. And also,
I actually don't want to know. I've accepted that already. It's fine by me. Rubber stamped. No
right.
questions asked. No, continue.
And then it seems strange that you would award the European positions based on league ranking, but you wouldn't name a champion based on league ranking. So that's one thing that sits pretty funny with me.
Well, yeah, I mean, I understand completely your logic, but, it's just weird overall. So I will say this. All major American sports leagues have been suspended, right? Italy have suspended their league. The Spanish La Liga have suspended. So this sort of hinges all on whatever the UEFA decides, right? So if UEFA says we will push back the Euros, then there might be time, depending on how long this pandemic lasts, then there might be time to continue the league play in the summer, or it just gets cut off and this season ends maybe in a week. So basically what I'm trying to say is get mentally prepared for Jadon Sancho to play his last game, potentially, for this club in front of literally nobody. So yeah, that bumps everyone out, I know, but it is what it is. That all being said, I think you should already cancel it now. I don't see a reason why you should have these players travel around, and maybe some of them already have the virus, and then playing sport will obviously not help in that regard. So what I found interesting today is there were statements out by the sporting director Michael Zorc, who said first, or the Süddeutsche Zeitung first reported that the upcoming games should be cancelled, and he basically said there is no blueprint of how to deal with this situation. It's a new circumstance for everyone, and this situation has an incredible dynamic. When I see that the Spanish and Italian leagues have been suspended effective immediately, even though they will have to deal with even more scheduling issues due to the fact that they have a 20-team league, I ask, why shouldn't we be able to do the same? Now, the headline was that he basically wants the upcoming match day cancelled, but then Borussia Dortmund's press officer clarified via the journalists' WhatsApp group chat that Zorc was talking about things in general, saying things can't continue like this forever. So that was sort of I don't know if it was a backpedal or not. whether the Süddeutsche got it wrong, but I honestly doubt it. I mean, Freddy Röckenhaus is a very experienced journalist, and I'm sure he just wrote what Zorc told him, and then they tried to say, oh, we didn't authorize this, and sort of retracted this. But the fan collective Südtribüne had a more decisive stance, and the fan collective Südtribüne, or Bündnis Südtribüne, or whatever you want to call it, is basically the collective voice of supporter groups, ultras, and individuals on the yellow wall, and of the fans. And they wrote, even though we have the clear wish to give our team the biggest possible motivation ahead of the derby in front of empty stands by, for example, a bus reception, we will not gather in front of the Westfalenstadion. The same holds true for the time during or after the game, regardless of the result. With this relatively small step, we want to simply avoid any further risk. Without expert knowledge, one can recognize the potential spread of this pandemic when taking a look at Italy. There, the spread has already reached dimensions that nobody would complain about the suspension of football games. German officials will lead heated discussions behind closed doors about the continuation of league play. However, the fact that the first and second Bundesliga haven't been suspended yet does not show wisdom or responsibility, especially regarding the endangered parts of society and healthcare workers. The fact that football without fans lacks everything that makes it special was visible yesterday in Paris and Mönchengladbach. Continuing this way for weeks and maybe months only to ensure the season is being finished in accordance with its regular schedule would be senseless and without any value. In our view, there is no way around the suspension of the upcoming match days, ideally including this weekend. So I think that's a pretty good stance to take and to show solidarity with the people that are most affected by this pandemic. What is your reaction?
My reaction is total agreement. I don't think that Bundesliga matches without fans are really worth playing. If you're not going to have them there, it's not even a real game. So I think you just do the right thing and stop it now and get people out of these. Well, get the players out of these buildings. Get everybody home, separated. Try to slow this thing down. There's all the science is out there saying that we just need to avoid all these people getting together. I understand that the fans will not be at the game, so these are not big gatherings, but still, these games without the fans are just, we're seeing that they're just nothing. And I don't think there's any point in going forward with this when it's getting to the point where it's going to get suspended anyway. So I think just tacking on one more match day is not really going to do anybody any good.
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, we know that the Arsenal coach has it. A player of FC Chelsea has been tested positive as well. So I'm not quite sure what they're doing in the Premier League with this. I guess we'll hear more by tomorrow. And I mean, once a player in the first division in Germany has it, you need to cancel it right away anyway. That's my view. So just do it now because it's inevitable anyway. And I don't see much sense playing a game in front of an empty stand, really. I think we had one game and that was proof enough. So yeah, that's all I will say. Interestingly, there are probably a lot of people who can watch the game in the United States. As we record this, Fox is showing, I think, college basketball on FS1 and FS2. That being said, that has also been cancelled in the United States. So maybe they show it, but right now it's only available on Fox Deportes. I personally can't watch that, so I would have to watch via the Fox Soccer Match Pass. And I personally, and I've read other have the same issue. If you want to stream it on your phone and then sort of Chromecast it or whatever, you can't because the app doesn't appear in the iTunes store anymore. Sort of the service has been discontinued. So that's a shit show as well. So I'm just hoping if the game actually proceeds, they put it on either FS1 or FS2 so that I can watch it, and I hope more people as well. But in general, I think that's not what the Bundesliga deserves, to be honest. I think they deserve to be treated a bit better. So I hope that ESPN Plus will do a better job and the league more justice so that people can watch every game whenever they please, and there aren't any weird workarounds or whatever. I don't know how you see it, but I'm a bit frustrated by this entire ordeal.
Right. I've had to use Fox Soccer Match Pass just ever since I started following the club back in 2015. Yes, that was not very long, but it used to be a decent service. They had other leagues as well, competitions, not so much national leagues, but a lot of they had MLS and U.S. men's national team and stuff like that. But over time, actually, they used to have the Europa League and the Champions League as well. So that was a great service then. But over time, it has just deteriorated. And like you said, the fact that they're not even supporting the app anymore while charging people $20 a month is absolutely brutal. I tried to watch the Gladbach game through Fox Soccer Match Pass, not the makeup game that they had there with Frankfurt. And it wasn't even on Match Pass. This was the first match that has not been on Match Pass since I started subscribing to the thing. I'm not sure why it wasn't there, but luckily I was able to find an FS2 stream. But I'm going to embrace ESPN Plus with open arms when they finally get the Bundesliga. And my hope is that they just take all of the wonderful world feed commentators that I've grown to very much appreciate because they helped me learn the game. I hope that it's a great new chapter for the Bundesliga on ESPN Plus.
I don't have anything more to say, so Adam, you have the last word.
Yeah, I wish this match was not being played because I just have a weird feeling about it going in because it's in front of nobody and it's not really a home game. But I really do want to go out with a strong performance, and I hope that they can pull that off.
All right, your word in God's ear. What's your prediction?
Oh, the prediction. I think it's going to be a tough one because they don't have their fans behind them, and they are a little lethargic, and they're coming off a tough game in Paris. I'm going to go out there, and I'm going to say, this part's not out there. I'm going to say it's going to be a 2-1 win, but I'm going to say that the one from Schalke is they're actually going to get Bergstaller his first goal, and it's going to come on like a shit set play or something like that, and Bergstaller is actually going to get one.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a 3-1 win for Dortmund. I actually have more confidence in a win without fans than with fans, weirdly. I don't know. I'm just scarred from the last Revierderbys at home, which all sort of were shit shows in their own special way. I mean, having 2 players sent off for exactly the same foul in the dumbest way and dumbest circumstances is something you need to achieve. Looking at you, Marco Reus and Marius Wolf, that was not great, and obviously blowing a 4-0 lead within one half also really, really stinks. So all this sucks, and Dortmund really have to make amends for it. That being said, even if Dortmund win this game, there will not be the rejoice that you would feel usually. So that's a bummer. But a 3-1 win is what I will predict. Adam, while I have you here, please tell our listeners where to follow you on the Twitter. And I don't know if you want to give fbref.com a plug or not.
Absolutely. Thank you. Fußballtwit on Twitter, and FBref is where I've been consulting ever since they launched the site. I would do some user experience design for them, and it's a world football stats site, and I love working on it.
Awesome. Yeah, you can find me at Stefan Butzko on Twitter, and you can get in touch with all of us at Yellowwallpod on Facebook and Twitter. If you want to sponsor an episode, go to patreon.com/theyellowwall. And if you want to subscribe to this podcast in all the various means, please do that via YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, Amazon, etc. So, please do that. And if you want to access the content on our paywall also, you can do that via patreon.com for $1 a month, and then you get access to all the written content on theyellowwall.net. So please do that as well. Although disclaimer, if there are no more games, then there won't be that much to write about. So there's that. Anyway, I hope we will have plenty more shows this year. So in either way, hoping that this game will play, I will just say, as always, thank you for listening, and until next week, goodbye.